Hello, now I'm going to start on week 2. First thing I'd like to say is there's nothing worse than talking to a screen and not seeing any students. So bear with me. So week 2 is jQuery. Let's scoot out here. Usual steps, click here, and we're going to be doing the memory game. So I already have that open, so I'm not going to go through that again. And before we get started, I just want to talk a little bit about jQuery. So jQuery is just a free open source JavaScript library. That means a collection of pre-written JavaScript code that you can use to make your website interactive. And you don't have to write everything from scratch. Unlike a framework with a library, you are in control because you bring in what you need into your program. You decide what you want to use from that library. And we'll look at the code in a minute to see where we import that. But with jQuery, we can make things happen when someone clicks a button, moves their mouse. We can show or hide parts of the web page. We can create animations, which we're going to do in this project. We can easily change like text or images on your page. And then we also can communicate with servers to get or send data without having to reload the page through the use of Ajax. Okay, so in other words, tasks that take a lot of lines and plain old JavaScript can often be done with just 1 or 2 lines with jQuery. Okay, so jQuery is typically included in a web page via the script tag, which we'll look at in a moment. But it's not being used like it used to be. Still using legacy systems and some CMS or content management system platforms like WordPress, but its usage is declining. And that is because we have other frameworks that we can use. So, or even with the modern version of JavaScript. But it's still good to know it or have seen it so you know what it is whenever you're working with a older website. So a web development framework then is just a collection of tools, libraries, and best practices that just standardize the process of building web applications. They give you reusable code, predefined structures, and some components to solve common problems. And so the types of frameworks that we have are front-end frameworks, back-end frameworks, and then full stack frameworks. So the front end, of course, just focuses on the user interface and the experience that they're having. There's a whole design element, which hopefully y'all are better at than I am. And some of those frameworks include React, Angular, and Vue. And React is one that we're going to work on week after next. I should have put it directly after this chapter. Sorry, doesn't really make sense. But in any case, we'll be using that pretty soon. And then we're also going to use the backend framework, which handles the server-side logic and the database interactions. And the one we're using with that is Node. And then finally, I should correct myself. Really, Node is more of a full stack framework because you can work on the front end of it and the back end of it. And so we are actually going to, in week 6, install Node on our home computers and create a little program. When I say we install these things and use them, I don't make you have to do anything without me telling you explicitly what I want you to do. So this is mainly just to learn. It's just tutorials to get things done. And then you just show me that it's installed and what kind of output you've got from that load that you put on your machine. Okay, so let's get started here with this project. There's a lot of typing. And so I was going to just start typing everything we needed to type in this program together. But then I realized that that would take me forever to do that. So once again, I have gone ahead and typed up the project for you, and I'll just hit the highlights of what we need to include in our file. Okay, so anyhow, let's talk about this. The JavaScript that we have, we're going to have a few functions in there. and that we need to update: the show card, the hide card, and the show match, and the new game. So we're going to be doing all four of those. So we're going to be animating showing a card. We're going to be animating hiding a card. We're going to animate matching cards to make their symbols grow bigger and smaller. And then we're going to have the cards fade in and fade out. Okay. So to get started, I'm actually going to pop over here. Once again, this is, apologize. The file here at the bottom of your exercise, which you should be familiar with by now. So our files are the index, memory, and styles, because memory is where we're going to be writing our code. So let's go over here in the JavaScript, excuse me. So I want to look at the index.html first. And we see here, this is where we import the jQuery. That's where we have it included in our program. So we can use all those pieces of code that are loaded in that library. So what did I want to show you down here? Nothing. And so the JavaScript we see here, this by this comment, the card's going to be created with the JavaScript. And so that card grid is being created in our JavaScript, which we're then going to use and set up the output on the screen with the HTML and CSS. So let's go here to memory. And so let me see, let me just run it. Well, that's what it looks like just when you get started. It has the cards for you. It can do new game, flash in and out. Well, actually, it's working. I can't run it because I have already written the code. So never mind. So what we're going to get to. Okay, so see how it flashes up and in, kind of waits a couple seconds. Okay. Where did I see that thing? Huh. Okay. And then when, we match to, it changes the color on the outline when we're hovering over it, and they stay with us once a pair have been selected. So then we hit new game and it just goes out, comes back in, and starts over. So that's pretty easy. I'm sure we've all played a game like that before. Concentration, I think it's called. So anyhow, it writes a lot of this code for us, thank goodness. So here, list of cards, tells us what we're going to be creating. So it's done all that stuff for us, given us our colors, the colors it's going to be. And so now, look here, and this is kind of a jQuery function where it's going to be creating the cards for us. And so just note, anything with the $ means it's jQuery. And it's indicating that this variable is holding a jQuery object. And so it's going to, in this game, it's going to hold that card grid object there and use that, manipulate that in this. So what the first thing is, let me get my notes up here. Okay, what did I want to say first? Okay, so if you look in the steps, the first thing it's asking us to do is actually step 2. Step 1 just kind of telling us what to look forward to. We're going to call the query method hide to hide the game before the for loop, for everything is created and put into it. It's very short time that it's hidden. So that would be right here after our let game equal the card grid, call that card grid HTML. Then we're going to hide it. And so it's going to be just a dollar game, that variable, dot hide. And so see, that is shortcut code that's going to make things run a lot quicker. And so we got all this. This is all given to us, this function, the jQuery function that's at the beginning of the game. And then we have a new game. Then we're going to have a button click. And it's going to start our new game. So now we're going to go down to just some more functions here that we're going to write. The click card function, you're just going to click the cards. If you guess it or not, it's going to change it to -1 or keep it at 0 to see if they match or not. Then our show card, I believe that's the next one it wanted us to work with. Yes, so we're going to use a slide up. And then we're going to set the enter HTML and color, add a card visible class, and then slide down to have it slide back down in 20 milliseconds, revealing the card symbol. So got to be a little careful when you're doing this. Make sure you look at this piece of code and get everything in the correct order, because it's giving you a bit of the code, but not enough of the code. And so you want to be careful right here when you move this function down, because you're going to go in and put in index dot slide up 200. Then dot Q, then function, and then the next. And then we're going to add to these entities or these objects, the one we're working on at this time. Okay, sorry about that. And we're going to get whatever color's looking at from the index and put that into the color for the CSS, and then add the card visible class. So dot CSS, whatever this is, going to be assigned to that. Then card visible is the class we're going to add, and then put a next as it. And go down here outside of the braces in the parentheses and put a dot slide down 200. So we're going to slide up 200, slide down 200. And those are just little methods that we can use from jQuery. Okay, good. So that's that for show card. Then go back here, and the next one I believe we work on is hide card. So we're going to hide card, modify this so the card appears to flip over and display face down. So I'm called slide up, remove the card visible class, and then slide down to have the blue side of the card slide back in. So once again, be careful. Put in the class slide up, the argument 200, Q, the next, function next. And then at this point, from the card divs at the index we're looking at, we're going to remove the class card visible, make it empty, and go to the next. We've gone through all the cards that are on our screen. We're going to use the dot slide down. And they'll look like this. Pull this down a little bit. The next thing we're going to be doing is a show match. And let me remember here. I'm sorry, just one moment. since I've already set it up, I can't remember how much code it gave you to begin with, but I believe it is a bit of typing. So you need to animate to make them bigger, make them smaller. Both cards. So index 1 to be one card, index 2 be another card. We're going to animate and change that font size, say how fast that has to happen. Then we're going to make it go back down to 75. It's going to start with 75, go 90, back down to 75. And actually, I think it said 100, but I put 90. I'm sorry. So we'll just, whatever the size is. Okay. So that's the piece of code for that. You're just doing a little bit of a bit of typing. And a lot of times I just copy and paste. So I would go copy this and paste, paste, paste. But you want to make sure that you change them correctly. That usually messes you up when you copy and paste. So you have to be very careful because there are things that I would have to change. So all this would be set the same. Only thing I need to change if I paste it here is the 75. So I'll paste this here, change the 90 to the 75, paste this here, change the 90 to the 75. And that would really be all the changing we needed to make. Just want to make sure one time you type it correctly. Okay, so then finally, this is the worst part, is the new game. Well, not worse, I shouldn't say that. But it's just a little bit of code that you need to write. And it doesn't give you a lot of direction. And I would look back and when I read through the book, it doesn't give you lots of direction there either. So we're going to call the fade out. We're going to randomize the cards, hide the cards, and then call fade in to make the grid visible again. So let's go back over here. I believe this part is already given to you to just randomize the cards by swapping their values out 20 times. It's going to go through this code. By the index, figure out what the length is of which index they need to get. So we're going to swap these cards around. So you'll get a card index from index 2 into index 1, and then temporary card we're holding into card index 2. So this is the next where we do need to write some code. So in this loop, where we're looking through the card divs, the length, how many items are in this array. So a number higher than the highest index in the array when we use the length method in usually any method that we use with the object, even if it's jQuery or just JavaScript or C# or whatever. It's always going to be the actual length in the array because how our arrays numbered, start with 0, right? So it always messes you up a little bit when you're trying to figure out the length of the array. And so here with our HTML, we want to make that blank. We want to put dot remove class, and we want to get rid of the card visible class. Let me see here. Oh, I forgot to mention this. This is very important. So here, with our card index 1 and our card index 2, we're calling the get random number. And that's right here. This is a small, quick, easy method. It's going to use the random method of math, which is great. and then take the max and the min plus 1 plus min to really randomize times this number to get a random number to value to use. To get the card index 1 and the card index 2. And they're going to use the max and the min because there's no use in getting a number that's bigger than what we have contained in our array. So that's a nice little function to have available. So anyway, then we want to go the object that we're working on, dot fade in and make it normal. So it's there again. So I showed you previously. What the program looks like when you run it. So we can do it one more time. Or how about I do this? I will go back up here and give you a little quick glance again over the program, over the code. So the only thing we need to do, whoops, up here, inside that piece of jQuery, the game.hide, $ game.hide, empty set braces behind. Okay. Then add the show card information for the color before making the card visible. Then we want to do the slide down and slide up. Those are lines of code we need to enter to this function. After this function, okay, then hide card. Very similar to what we did above with the slide up and the slide down, but then this little piece of code right here for each card is a bit different. And that's we're going to remove that class card visible. Then our show match, bit of code to create, to put on in our program. Then finally, the new game. This piece of code here. So actually, what I would say is as you're running this program or watching this, to avoid having to listen to me talk too much, you can just go to each piece of code that you need to use, stop the video, enter your code, and do that for each one. I want to make sure you get this, make this correct, make this run correctly. Okay, so we did jQuery because you're going to see a lot of jQuery out in the world, but you're not really going to be using jQuery much from now on because we have other commands that we can use instead and other frameworks and just built into JavaScript now are a lot of shortcuts that we can use. Okay. So actually, I think that's all I had to talk about for this one. It's just a bit of typing. So just look through the code, stop the video, type your code, and hopefully it'll run. And you can see how it's doing then after 2 seconds, it pops back over. Yay! Finally. Good. So that's it.